I'll record it to the cloud, and that way you guys have, you'll be able to get the link to it, Lori, and download that for your folks. Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is Dana Brigman, and I am a certified canine nutritionist. I'm also a certified holistic pet health coach, and I hold certifications in aromatherapy for animals, homeopathy for animals, herbs, Reiki, and a whole bunch of other things, right? But those are the primary things that I put together when I'm coming up with support and resources for dog mamas and dog dads and trying to help keep their dogs as healthy as possible. My mission is for your dog to eat better, feel better, and live longer. I am all about trying to promote longevity. And my website is welloiledcanine.com. I have to give this little disclaimer. Whoops, where did it go? I am not, am I presenting? Yes. So I believe that for almost every ailment that we have, there is a holistic approach to it. And I know sometimes people get in one lane or the other and they don't think about some of the other modalities. So I always say, before you give up, make sure you've tried one more thing that you may not have thought about or may not even know is an option for you to consider. The legal part of this is I am not a veterinarian, so I have to say that the statements in this presentation are not evaluated by the FDA. They are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent any disease. Our goal is to bring the body back to balance. We focus on health and wellness, not on disease and illness. Going the wrong way. Okay, so tonight we're going to cover nutrition basics, natural wellness, low tox lifestyle. We'll talk about vaccines, parasites, heartworm preventatives, and how to do that a little more healthily, a little more naturally. A lot of these products are not natural, but there are some things that we can do to help support the body when we have to do these things. Joint health, anxiety. We'll actually talk about seniors as well. Immunity. I know some of you are in competitions and show dogs and all of those things. So immunity is a big deal when you've got a big crowd of animals or you're traveling a lot and things of that nature. And then again, my focus on longevity leads us to do some seasonal, annual type protocols, and we'll touch on those a bit tonight as well. So we talk a little bit about nutrition. I believe that our best options are fresh foods. So we have the ability to make a homemade recipe. We can order delivery services, whether it's like an 80-10-10 type food model. Some people may be familiar with the prey model, where it's the whole creature that we're given to the dog. We have options to do any of those kinds of things. I can teach you how to make a homemade recipe, and you will see in a little bit a homemade food guide that I have that talks to you about understanding the ratio of ingredients that go in the bowl, like what percentage of protein relative to what percentage of vegetables, if that's the model of nutrition that you want to feed. And then many people think of, or they forget about the fats and adding a little bit of iron and adding a little, I'm sorry, not iron, iodine, and adding a little bit of sodium. So I see a lot of recipes that people are trying to do the right things. They want to feed their dogs in a more healthy way. And they come out with chicken, rice, and carrots and peas. That is a very common recipe that I see when people call me for help that they're feeding. And well, when we look at that, we are missing fat, we're missing calcium, we are missing a fair number of vital nutrients that need to be included in the diet if we're going to achieve that longevity goal. So Are you guys interested in making your own food at this time, or are you looking for delivery services, or do you know yet?
Yes, making own food.
Okay. So I'm going to, let me see if I can, gotta figure out how to multitask myself here. So I'm going to pause the little presentation. I think I am. Sorry, folks, I'm driving backwards. It's like driving with my left hand, and that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. There we go.
Also, a
So,
complete raw diet. I'm interested in
I beg your pardon?
a complete raw diet.
What does that mean to you? Because raw means different things to different people.
Raw meat.
I understand. What else goes in the bowl? And I mean, no disrespect. I want to know what you think that means. Like an 80-10-10 model where it's nothing else in the bowl.
No, vegetables.
Okay.
Low glucose vegetables and some carbs.
Okay. So you guys will get a copy of this Making Homemade Food Guide. Do you see that on your screen now? Yes. I'm still sharing my screen, right?
Yes, we see it.
Okay. Yeah. And so this talks about adding the protein source. And generally, I want to have about 60 to 70% protein in that bowl with its fat. If it's a lean protein, we have to supplement the fat by adding something like ghee, tallow, grass-fed butter, or maybe some type of oil. We want to stay away from seed oils, but maybe an avocado oil or an olive oil or a coconut oil. I tend to stay away from coconut oil a little bit because it's in everything else. So I try to have variety and rotation of that. So this guide talks about adding those muscle meats, talks about adding a variety of proteins. So I'll notice here that hearts are listed as your muscle. They are not part of the organ family. Fish is another choice. We talk about rotating significantly. Then we talk about 10% of the diet being some form of organ, 5% of which is liver. The other 5 is anything else. So that would be our tripes, our pancreas, our spleen, kidneys, brain, gizzard, depending on what access you have to the animal sources. Okay. We then need to make sure that when we are putting those meats in, they go in with their bone. So the right ratio is like a whole chicken leg or a whole chicken thigh or drumstick or whatever. And I'm just using chicken as an example. It is a balanced food. It has all the things that it needs. It has its fat, it has its bone, and it has its muscle meat. So you could just feed a chicken to your dog with its organ and have a complete meal. Or you can start mixing and matching how you achieve that. We then move into, let me back this up. If you don't have the organ, there are some ways to add glandulars, which is like a dehydrated organ. Standard Process has some beautiful products. Four Leaf Rover has this Better Bones product. They also have one called Guts and Glory that is a good resource as well. And then we want to achieve about a 20% fat ratio, unless there is some underlying health issue. Puppies, seniors, they tend to need a little more fat. I did read where the Shelties are prone to be a little weight intolerant. So some of you may be on a lower fat diet. Some of you may have heard that if we have pancreatitis, that we need to go completely low fat, which is frankly just not true. What really is true about that statement is if you were feeding processed kibble, then those fats are considered rendered, right? They're almost just grease. rather than a healthy fat. So when we talk about healthy raw animal fats, we do not lean into the root cause of pancreatitis. Carbs can be as problematic for pancreatitis as those processed fats might be. So we tend to want to keep adding real animal fat to our recipe bowl. Question? Then we look at vegetables. I'm going to back up a second. Omega-3 is a big deal. Very big deal for puppies, very big deal for seniors, very big deal for cancer, for seizures, for all of those things. Now, as I was preparing for this, I did read that your breed of dog is prone to von Willebrand's disease. And I may not have pronounced that right. But that may mean they can't tolerate as much of these types of things because they do affect the ability to clot blood, to thin the blood, that sort of thing. So if you have a dog that has been diagnosed or has this condition, then some of these things will have to be modified, and that would be a one-on-one discussion. So then we add about 20, maybe 30% of some vegetable choices. I want you to choose from the Brassica cruciferous vegetable category first. Those are our cancer fighting. Those are the high fiber antioxidant type vegetables that we want to go into the bowl. Then we can choose other seasonal vegetables. If you think about the seasons in which things would grow naturally. Now, don't think about the grocery store because we're importing stuff all over the place, right? But if you thought about what would grow naturally in your region, or especially the region in which the Sheltie breed originated, we think about that lineage, right? Feeding vegetables in season follows a principle of Chinese medicine, of traditional Chinese veterinary medicine, that really helps the body know how to work in its cycle of what's going on in the circadian clock. So that clock functions every day, every quarter, every season, and so on. So feeding seasonally becomes a very important thing to consider. So we look at about 50% greens and 50% root veggies. We add those seasonal rooted vegetables in there, right? And so that will make up about 30% max of your total diet. So we had about 70% protein and about 30% veg. So that's your bowl of food. Depending on those ingredients, we may need to add a little sodium. We may need to add a little iodine. The measures are here. Again, you will get this document. And then we can add, actually need to change this. And the reason is there was a recent study on this brand that said it is a little bit too high in heavy metals these days. So I have an alternate brand that I'll adjust before I share this link with you guys. But then we can add herbs. Herbs have a lot of therapeutic properties, right? We can use them as natural antibiotics. We can use them as anti-inflammatories. We can use them, like ginger is great to help settle the belly. So we pick herbs to add a little flavor, but also to make a decision about what is it within that dog at that particular stage of life that we may need to help support, and herbs will help us do that quite naturally. I'm not a huge fan of grains, so definitely no white rice, no brown rice. If you need a grain like that, we're going to suggest quinoa, or quinoa is actually a grass and not a grain. So we look at those types of things as options rather than the wheats and the rices and, those kinds of things. There's actually a blog, and I'll show you my blog in a little bit, where I say reasons not to use chicken and rice when your dog has just had surgery, or when your dog has not eating well or has some sort of ailment. Chicken and rice are both very inflammatory foods. The more chicken we eat, which is high in omega-6, the more omega-3 we need to supplement to help keep that ratio in balance. And so you'll see more about those ratios as we come. Now, what about the whole grain-free issue? How many of you have heard this, or are you concerned about grain-free and the heart health issues?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
go ahead.
Well, we've heard both ways, so it's, it's been back and forth, just
Right.
on a do don't kind of situation. So it's
Yep.
like,
So
what is the choice?
this blue, I'm sorry, let me let somebody into the room real quick. Lori was not watching. This blew up a couple of years ago. And when it did, the holistic community said, time out. If that's true, all of our dogs should be very unhealthy, right? That it's not the grains. And what really happened was, in the dry food recipes, there's an amount of protein that goes into the mixture, right? That protein got adjusted when they took the grains out, because they added in legumes. They added in beans and peas and things of that nature, which carry a percentage of protein. So the actual meat protein was less than it used to be, because there's now more plant matter protein in that recipe. Those legumes also seemed to create an inability for the uptake of taurine, which is naturally found, and the body can produce it if we give it the right amino acids that are found in meat. They're not found in the plant protein. So when we change the ratio of actual meat protein to plant protein, then yes, taurine might have been affected, but it was not the fact that the food was grain-free. It was that the ratios were wrong. So fast forward to last year, I think it was, the FDA finally came out and said, yep, we were wrong. They made a very low-key statement about that and moved on about their business. They actually never came back and said, we shouldn't have said it. None of that happened. But there's a lot of people who believe it was really big brand foods trying to go after the raw feeding community. So the bottom line is, it's not true. If you have a dog that is predispositioned to heart health issues, and I'm not sure that the Sheltie breed has that, right? Then you might want to supplement taurine anyway, a little bit. But we tend not to need to do that in a true muscle meat type diet. Okay. There is a blog on my website that talks about that, and there's an interview with me and a holistic veterinarian who discusses what I just shared with you about that topic. We use fruits as treats. A lot of people, you will see, throw them into the bowl. I tend to keep them separate because they digest at different rates, different speeds than our proteins do. I'm going to ask you to excuse me for 1 second. I have a nearly 20-year-old dachshund who wants on the floor. And if I don't put him down, say hi, everybody. Say hi. If I don't put him down, he'll bark at me for the whole call. Sorry about that. Okay. So that's the heart health issue. And then your feeding schedule matters. If I have a dog with diabetes or cancer or things of that nature, we actually build in intermittent fasting schedule, or at least work to have a window of times in which we feed so that there is a fasted period that gives the body time off the clock from having to manage all of those digestive processes. And that may be true for a pancreatic dog as well. So my dogs eat both of their meals within a 6-hour window. And then they get nothing else, maybe a treat, but nothing, no meals the rest of the day. Okay. You'll see more here about the other things that may need to go in your food bowl. Medicinal mushrooms are a big deal. They're one of the most important things that I think we can add for our seniors. They are a must-have for many allergy dogs and definitely for our cancer patients. Digestive enzymes. If you're transitioning from a kibble-based diet to a raw-fed diet or even a fresh cooked diet, there may be a period of time in which you need to add digestive enzymes. The body will produce them because of the foods that we're giving. But if we've been feeding dry-fed kibble that is not nutrient-rich and devoid of its own enzymes, and they are, the body doesn't make them as effectively, efficiently, or sufficiently enough naturally. So when we start adding these real fresh foods, the body may not know how to use them. So we often supplement digestive enzymes during that transition period and for a couple of months, and then start to back away and let the body kick off its own natural process. So we just help it get a little jump start by adding in digestive enzymes. How much should we feed when we feed a raw fed or a fresh homemade diet? The general average, if we've got balance, if we've done the recipe appropriately and it's got its muscle meat, its organ or glandulars, it's got its fat, it's got its veggies, it's got all the things we're supposed to have in there, then we say we feed 2 to 3% of the dog's body weight converted to ounces. So a 50-pound dog, for example, is going to eat about 15, 16 ounces of food a day. And you can divide that into the 2 meals, or you can make that into 3 meals or 1 portion. It doesn't, whatever is best for your dog. My senior, I just said he's almost 20 years old. He eats his meals in smaller portions, but we're still in that 6-hour window. Okay. So 2% might be on the lower end if your dog is less active. 3% is probably where you need to be if you've got an agility dog, right? If we are trying to adjust weight as we change the recipe, certainly eliminating grains is going to be one thing that helps shift the weight pattern. But we need to feed for the weight the animal should be, not the weight they are currently. If your dog has a significant amount of weight to lose, like more than a couple percent of its body weight, then you start maybe adjusting 5 pounds down and lose that weight and then adjust again, because we don't want to throw them into like, oh my God, I'm starving to death here. We want their body to adjust little by little as we make those transitions. And then we have custom diets. I can help you customize a diet for everything. I just had somebody today call me about vestibular disease, and that's kind of a old dog issue, right? But we're going to be working on a special diet for that. But we have heart health and pancreatic health and digestive health and cancer and all the things. I even have, we talk a lot about nutrition, even for dogs with aggression issues. I do a lot of liver detox work for dogs with aggression issues. Dogs that are anxious, I put all of them on digestive enzymes because the body the research tells us that dogs who are highly anxious all the time, and I don't mean just situationally, right? I mean, they are like a stressed out little ball of anxiety. They are devoid of natural digestive enzymes. So we have to fuel the gut. We have to help the gut heal if we want to improve brain health, if we want to improve emotional health, anxiety, and all of those things. It starts in the gut. So if you follow me ever, you will hear me say food first a million times because that's what we're up to. So you could take this guide and make a gently cooked meal if you're not quite ready for throwing raw meat into the bowl. You could gently cook this. We never want to cook a bone, right? So if you're cooking the rest of your protein sources, you may have to deal with the bone separately or use a calcium supplement. Or you can make this raw. The veggies will always be lightly cooked or sauteed and chopped very well. They don't have to be mush. They could be a texture that your dog prefers and enjoys. But we gently cook the veggies always, and we can choose to cook the meat or not. But we're never going to cook the bone. Okay. So this, when you see this, you'll get this rough estimate, how it all sort of plays out. This, and then there is a sample recipe here that you wanted to make. But the beauty of this, and I encourage, is rotation. You could make one batch with turkey, and the next batch you make could be ground beef. You could make the veg medley only and use the raw meat. You could use eggs. You could use cottage cheese. You could use goat's milk. There are a gazillion ways to be creative and adjust, and know that over the course of a week or the couple of weeks, these diets will work out, and you don't have to overstress about what a lot of people do with macro or micro measurements. You just don't have to be that detailed.
Me today.
Okay. Any questions about that?
Yeah, probably sit down.
Is that a question I hear? So I know Lori had asked me about puppies and their nutrition. I can help you with those diets, and I do have them, but I do want to point out, can you still see me? Do you see me at all? These folks.
Yeah, we see you.
Okay, good. Where's my camera that I can't? Okay, we'll do one at a time. There it is. Advanced Canine Reproduction and Puppy Care. Myra Harris.
For anxiety dogs with their missing digestive enzyme.
Okay, I'm hearing some background. I'm gonna mute you guys. She has 3 books all about puppy care, and they're in my Amazon store. I encourage those of you who are breeding to read these. And then there's another great book. I have a good friend named Paula Vandervoort. She is a naturally rearing breeder of boxers out of Texas. She has a great group on Facebook. So ignore the fact that yours are Chelsea's and hers are boxers. That really doesn't matter. But she helps people learn how to do natural rearing of puppies. So helping the mom prepare, the testing that she does ahead of time, and then the rearing, meaning she does no vaccines whatsoever. None. It is all done with homeopathic no-so. So this book was written by Jeannie Thomason. I don't know why I can't find my camera. Weird. There we go. Jeannie Thomason. There's her name at the bottom. And then Paula Vandervoort is my friend out of Texas. Okay. So dry food, I'm going to just come back to this for a second, is just not our friend. Most kibble is about 50 to 70% carbohydrates. It's highly processed, high temps, multiple times it goes through the cycle. They tend to usually add on fat after the fact because the original got all cooked away, right? So they spray on fat for those mid-grade and lower foods so that the dog will even eat it. If you need to feed dry food, then Carnivore is the brand that I recommend the most often because it's air dried and there is nothing synthetic in it. So you'll pay extra premium because it's a quality food, but there's no synthetics in it. So if you are a raw feeder, I can certainly teach you how to travel with that. But if you need something on the fly when you're traveling, sometimes people prefer to just carry a bag of dry food, and Carnivore is a good one to choose. Okay. Let me go back to sharing this screen. Oh, yeah, we covered that. So moving into a low tox lifestyle. Our foods often have glyphosate and pesticides and all sorts of crazy things in them. That's true for you and me. And it's true for the dogs. So we need to be very careful about that. With that in mind, I do a seasonal liver cleanse. I do a glyphosate cleanse with clients every year. Usually a couple times a year, like spring and fall kind of thing. You're going to find many products in many chemicals in things like your shampoos. Your groomer, if you're taking your dog to a groomer, may not be using the best quality products. And I would encourage you to ask them. I am a hardcore Young Living gal with essential oils, and I've talked to a number of groomers who are using those Young Living products these days. And they talk a lot about the exposure that groomers, same like hairdressers, right? That they have to so many health issues because of all the chemicals they are exposed to. I have seen shampoos that say they are anti-allergen, and you go read the ingredients, and those ingredients are skin irritants. It makes no sense in my head how that comes to be. But you can look at products that are clean products to use for shampoos from like Young Living. Four Legger is a great brand. I've met the owner of that company. They make very clean, healthy, safe products that don't cause harmful side effects to your pets. Flea and tick is a big deal. But I will tell you, I and many of my clients now, it takes them a little minute to get comfortable with it. But I have not used a flea and tick product, not even an essential oil spray, in years. Because a healthy body, devoid of all that junk that's in the dry kibble foods, makes a healthy body makes a terrible host. So when I first moved into this house, I treated the yard. I back up to a heavily wooded area, but I don't even have to do that anymore. So you can treat the yard with diatomaceous earth and Wondercide. Just spray out there, a couple times a month, maybe weekly if you've got a real problem. And then if you need to spray the dog because you're out hiking with them or things of that nature, then you can make an essential oil spray. There's recipes on my website. You can look at products like Kin and Kind or Wondercide. We use a modified heartworm schedule. Now, The Shelties fall into a category that say ivermectin is not necessarily safe for them. And there's a whole thing about the Sheltie being on the box for HeartGuard. But what's true, and it's hard for some pet parents to accept, is that because many of the herding breeds cannot tolerate ivermectin, there's a question, is it safe at all? And the argument is it has been thus far. I mean, people have used ivermectin for a gazillion years with little to no side effects, unless we're going mega doses, like unless we're doing overdosing of those products. The alternative for you guys is a product called Millie-Bison. I can't say it right. Millie-Bison. I'll spell it in a minute. Anyway, it's an alternative that does not have that same issue. And it also actually addresses a few more parasites than ivermectin does, right? The one thing neither one of those products will do is parasite control for what is considered a flat worm, a flat shaped worm, like a tapeworm. Neither Millie-Bison or ivermectin will take care of those parasites. So I do a quarterly parasite for some dogs. I do a quarterly parasite for myself because I like to eat sushi and I like rare meat. So we need to make sure we're not exposed to that. And frankly, I saw a post just this week where to make natural food coloring, even in things like red velvet cake, they are using this insect, and I'm not going to remember the name of it, but it's this little red insect that they smush and dry out and use that body to make food coloring. Yeah, so you're eating parasites. And so we want to make sure that we do some annual, at least annual, but periodic parasite controls. With the HeartGuard, or sorry, with the ivermectin, heartworm, Millie-Bison, HeartGuard, whatever you're using, the schedule does not have to be yearly. I mean, every month. The schedule does not have to be monthly. Your vet will, of course, argue that. They will also not honor any sort of guarantee that your dog won't get heartworms. When they do make that guarantee, it's simply that they will pay for the treatment should your dog become heartworm infected. But the issue is none of those products are actually preventative in the way that we were taught to think, or at least not the way I was taught. It is when we dose, we are killing off what is present in the body and has been for the last period of weeks or months between our cycles of dosing. So if I dose today, I kill off what's present in the body, but I am doing nothing for the next few weeks. There's nothing preventing the dog from getting bit by a mosquito and being implanted with more microfilaria. It is a in arrears kind of treatment. Okay. What we know is the life cycle of a heartworm is about 6 months. So if we get in and interrupt that cycle, then we're going to be fine. We're never going to see an adult heartworm in the body, which is really what we're trying to accomplish. It takes 45 consecutive days of temperatures that exceed 55 degrees consistently in those 24 hours, meaning it can't drop into the 40s overnight and then back into the 50s and 60s during the day. It has to be 45 days, 55 degrees and above, before the mosquito can implant the microfilaria at all. Right. So last year, and this has been true for a while for me, my first dose to my dogs was June 1st. I then dose every 8 weeks because I know I'm interrupting that 6-month cycle easily. And in fact, I'm interrupting the cycle before the 3 months where they become, where the little larva becomes other things in that cycle. And I don't worry about it. And I've never had a problem. My clients are not having problems. Everything is working out pretty well. And many people are doing that these days quite successfully. Anytime we put in a product like milibison, ivermectin, any of those kinds of things, we want the next day for you to use something like milk thistle to detox the liver from having received that toxin and the things that were killed off in the process. So there was microfilaria in there, right? Just about for everybody. If you live in the right regions, you kill it off. How does it get expelled out of the body? Through the waste management system. So we put some milk thistle, just a day or two dosing, and help the liver do its waste management and recover from having received that toxin, because it is, that's what they are. And I want you all to always say no to ProHeart. So if you think about that, ProHeart, a 12-month injection, means enough toxin went into your dog's body to last an entire 12 months. There's no getting it out once it goes in. If your dog has a reaction to it, you are screwed. And there's nothing safe about that drug. You can go read a bunch of research on it. I have some on my website, but ProHeart is bad news. The products, I'm going to back up just a little bit. The products like Seresto collars, Bravecto, NexGard, all of those products, they are toxins that are making its way into your dog's bloodstream. Even from the collar, it's just soaking through into the bloodstream, waiting on your dog to be bit by a flea and or a tick. If you don't have a flea and tick infestation, why are you treating it all? So our dogs are the one carrying the consequence of that little toxin coursing through their body all the time, waiting to be bit so that the animal that bit it will die. It's nothing safe about that. So when you see the list summary here in a few minutes, you will see a link to understanding more about the risks of fleas and ticks and heartworms. Cleaning products, bleach, Fabuloso, all those products are not safe for you or your pet. But you need to remember that your pet is a little naked being in your home, probably more at home than you are, unless you're like me these days and working from home. They are absorbing what is falling from the air. They're absorbing what has landed on your fabrics, and they are absorbing through their feet what has landed on the floor. So they are absorbing a lot of those products. I know of a dog that wound up with a brain tumor, big Italian Mastiff dog. When things started trying to unravel in the history so we could figure out what was going on, the family did not like the way the dog smelled. So they had 10, count them, 10 plug-ins in the space in which the dog lived. I can guarantee you those synthetic fragrances were part of the issue for that dog's health. Okay. I want to show you, I'm going to change screens here. Why am I going backwards tonight? I'm just backwards.
Dana,
Yes, ma'am.
I got a question for you.
Sure.
In theory, I do the like 6-month treatments for heartworms. And I start like you, I start in June and I stop in December. December's my last one. So really it's May to November is the period in Missouri. that tends to have, that temperature.
Uh-huh.
That's needed. Now, do you agree with that? I mean, you said you start June 1st, but when do you end?
My last dose is in November.
November?
Once we start falling below 55 degrees, I stop. And what I try to do is space it out so that if I've given a dose in October, right, if that was my cycle and I gave one in October, I'm not going to do it 2 weeks later to stop on November 1st. I will
course.
push it and make sure I've got at least a 6-week interval between them.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. You will see, where's my first aid list? First aid kit. Everybody needs a good first aid kit. This is mine, and I know you guys are going, oh my God, that's a lot. But especially for those of you who travel with your dog, you're in competitions, you run the risk of injury or immune flare-ups or whatever it may be. I want you to visit this website and look at some of the things that you need to keep in your first aid collection, right? There's some homeopathic remedies here. Homeopathic is extremely affordable for everybody and easy to transport. It comes in, I've seen them like an inch tall with just a few pellets in it, but most of them look like a little lipstick vial or a chapstick vial. And it has these little white pellets in there. And usually for any dog, it's just 2 to 3 pellets at a time. Homeopathic is not dosed based on weight or species. So when you visit my website and you look at the resource library, there is an intro to homeopathy that I encourage you to look at. There's one for oils, there's a nutrition section, and then general health tips, which is everything else. But take a look at those and start to see what's available. But I keep homeopathics, I keep a bunch of essential oils. Milk thistle should be in your first aid kit at all times because you're going to use it a gazillion times throughout the year. Remember, after all of those heartworm and flea and tick uses, you're going to apply milk thistle. Slippery elm, if we get digestive upset. Saline to wash out their eyeballs. So this is my first aid recommendation. And then there's a video here teaching you how to make an emergency muzzle. Should your dog become injured or you come across a dog that's injured, injured dogs are likely to bite. And so this is about protecting everybody in an emergency. Okay. All right. And then fragrances. I touched a little bit about those plugins. Plugins, fabric sprays, perfume sometimes, cleaning products, shampoos, anything synthetic we want to try and avoid, especially if you have a dog with seizures or cancer or allergies. Nothing synthetic. Now, joint health. Also a big topic, right? Weight matters. So keeping our dogs lean is a good thing to do. When we have a dog that is predisposed to some joint health issue, then I start supplementing their diet early with a good joint supplement. Jope is currently the best one that I have found, JOPE. And it is a collagen-based supplement that is proving, their data says, I want to say it's 40% more effective than glucosamine and chondroitin. My little almost 20-year-old dachshund is taking it. He has been for a while now, and he is still mobile. So it's my understanding, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, that the breed Shelties are predisposed to hip dysplasia. So this would be a good supplement to add. I normally start all dogs when they hit that senior status, 7, 8 years old, which blows my mind that that's what we consider a senior, but it is. And then if they are predisposed, like I used to raise Great Danes, I would start them basically when they hit maturity. There are other natural anti-inflammatories. Boswellia is excellent. Turmeric. Again, be cautious with that if your dog is in that von Willebrand category. And then CBD is excellent. CBD, there's one from CBD Dog Health called Ease, EASE, that has turmeric and frankincense, which is the boswellia, in it, and that makes an excellent supplement. When you are choosing a CBD product, the brand that I recommend is CBD Dog Health. I will talk to people about Lazarus Naturals, but I rarely talk about others. Although I will say, there's a little dispensary here in my town. There's a bunch of them actually, but there's only one I trust. And they have an excellent product as well. And you do want it to have the 0.3% THC. Nothing more. You don't want more THC than that. But in order for the constituents of CBD, that endocannabinoid system, to work effectively, it needs that THC so that we have not fully broken apart the original plant matter and the original constituents of what was growing, right? When you start breaking it apart, you no longer have the same product. But that little bit of THC is super important to helping the endocannabinoid system do its best work. And that's true for seizure dogs, cancer dogs, and so on. If you have tried a CBD product and you felt like it did not work, you either didn't have the THC in it, you may have had something that was, so when it has the 0.3% in it, it is considered full spectrum. If you have something called broad spectrum or any other, then you are missing some of those constituents, and that may be why it didn't work effectively. Or you didn't find the proper dose. So just like I said with homeopathy, the dose is irrelevant to the species and their weight. That does not matter. We start with essential oils and CBD and those that we call it low and slow. We start with a little bit, see how they tolerate it. And then we keep increasing until we reach a point in which we feel like they can't keep their eyeballs open. They will not be high. There's not enough THC in there to make that happen. There is no psychotropic effect even possible at that low a dose of THC. Just not going to happen. But when you see them feel a little sleepy, then back down to where you were the day or two prior, and that would be their tolerant dose.
Hey, Dana, this is Lori, to interrupt. I think
Yeah.
there's someone in the waiting room.
Oh, okay. Let me go over there.
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
I've used one TDC for a long time pretty successfully. I don't know if you've had any, if you've used that at all or seen anything about it at all, but I usually use it on the dog's gums for both joints and tooth health, also the gum health.
Okay.
And I had a dog get to, well, he's sitting right here, 11 years old, and I have a 16-year-old Sheltie,
Awesome.
who have both only had to have 2 dentals in their lives. And I've done one TDC from the very beginning, and I've got a little tiny Chihuahua.
Are you saying, I'm sorry, are you saying TBC?
TDC,
I
like
don't know
dog.
what that is.
It's a joint supplement. I can tell you what's in it because I have it right here in my drawer.
Those lawyers, they fight going, they know what you fight, they know money they make. You know, when I got my divorce,
Are you still there?
I'm here. I'm not sure what's happening.
It's a proprietary blend of 1-decanol complex fatty acids bovine source. And it's got some inactive ingredients, fish oil and carob, but I just didn't know if you knew anything about that or
It
have.
is not, it's not something I'm familiar with, but if we can wait till the Q&A, we can look it up maybe, or we can talk about
Okay.
it later. Yeah.
Okay, that
Um,
would be great. Thank you.
Yeah. So in the joint health, just a couple more things. Keep them mobile. If that means little gentle walks, swimming activities, stretching, chiropractic, those are excellent options. I have also found tremendous benefit from the product PEMF. I don't think you're seeing that word on my screen. The letter PEMF. It stands for pulsed electromagnetic frequencies. And it works for inflammation anywhere in the body. So your dog would lay on this mat. It is great for anxiety. A lot of benefit. So I use it for my senior. I use it for my pit bull who blew out her knee last spring. And we recovered her with natural remedies and no surgery. Had to do some exercise, but these were the tools we used. And then the Domer laser for at-home use is also excellent to manage inflammation. So if you've got an agility dog or you've got a senior, those are worth considering. And then I use them on myself too. Most everything is no different for the dog than the human versus figuring out their proper dose. Okay. Immunity. How many of you are worried about the bird flu and the canine flu or kennel cough in your activities?
I'm sorry, what did you call the laser, the donor laser?
Domer, D-O-M-E-R. That's a brand.
Oh, thanks.
D-O-M-E-R. So don't panic about the bird flu. So remember I said that a healthy body makes a terrible host. This is true for dogs who have strong immune systems. There is misinformation out there about the cat that died eating the raw food. What they did not tell you, and has now been proven, is that that cat was also allowed to be outdoors. He was not an indoor cat only. And he was exposed to waterfowl in the community in which the bird flu existed. Was not ever the food. Okay. So a lot of people have said to me, should I stop feeding chicken? Should I stop feeding turkey? You know, the answer is that's up to you. I have not. If I'm feeding a human grade product that is safe for me to eat, then I believe it's safe for my dogs to eat. And that's true also for the 80-10-10 grinds that I choose to feed. So remember that 80-10-10 is it's 80% muscle meat with its fat, 10% bone for the calcium source, and 10% organ. Okay, they come in little chubs or 5-pound chubs, usually ground up, and that's a great way to start feeding raw without having to think about it too much. And then you can add your veg medley back to that. So we build a strong immune system by feeding fresh food with the right supplements if needed, making sure the vitamins and minerals are there. We're going to get that from our organs and from vegetables and from blueberries and watermelon and all of the things that we may add to the diet. Antioxidants are a big deal for everybody, including you. So I take in a lot of antioxidant foods and supplements each week. These can, so omega-3 is a good antioxidant. Most people don't ever give enough. And I'll give you an indication that if I have a dog with an allergy, I am about 3 times the amount of omega that a maintenance dose calls for. If I have a dog with cancer, I'm about 5 to 6 times the maintenance dose. Okay, so we titrate up, trying to get bigger amounts of antioxidants into this dog. Alternatively, sometimes I may adjust the omegas and put in vitamin C. Or there's a great product that is said to be the most powerful antioxidant we have access to, and it's called C60. When you get access to my forum, you can read more about these things. But we also know blueberries and raspberries and all of those things are also highly powerful antioxidants as well. So just include them in your diet. They can be part of your treat protocol. Bake them into treats. It doesn't matter. Just get them into the dog's body periodically and help strengthen their immunity and help them detoxify and fight off those so-called free radicals. Mushrooms are fabulous. I have come to believe that every human and every dog needs mushrooms in their diet, especially if we have reached senior status. And so there are mushrooms that do a variety of different things. They can support the respiratory system. They can support cognitive health. They can support joint health. They can support fighting cancer. There's so many benefits, but they are very beneficial to the immune system. You can feed your dog any mushroom that you can find in the grocery store, but you're not going to achieve the amount of beta glucans. That's the factor that we're after in the mushroom. That's how they're measured in their powerfulness, right? Beta glucans are really what we're after, and we want more of them when we have some inflammatory diseases or we're fighting a health problem. And you will find those greater numbers in tinctures and or powders. So the 2 brands that I like the most, one is Mycodogs. It's the same company that makes the CBD product. So Mycodogs, and then Real Defenders. I'm sorry, that's wrong. Real Mushrooms. Real Mushrooms comes in a powder. I can buy the human grade powder. If I'm trying to work with a bunch of dogs and or myself, I have no problem taking that tincture, even though it's labeled for a dog. I take it all the time. But you can save a little bit of money and get more value in a bag of mushrooms and share them with your dog or with your pack. There are natural antibiotics. I mentioned this early on in the herbs. CBD offers natural antibiotic properties as well. There are many essential oils that offer antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal properties that really help fight all those things that can tackle the immune system or wound healing or things of that nature. So I'm a big fan of essential oils, but natural antibiotics. And y'all, I am seeing way too often people call me where the pet has been on 2, maybe 3 rounds of antibiotics and steroids, and they still don't know what's wrong with the dog. It happens a lot. And if you've ever paid attention to like the Dr. Pol show on TV, I had to quit watching them. I used to watch them all the time, but now I'm like, oh my God, I know too much. But somebody will take their pet in and say, something's off. We don't know. And the vet's like, I don't know what it is, but let's try an antibiotic and some steroids and see what happens. And then they go back a few weeks later and say, nothing has changed. And well, let's try a different antibiotic. Let's try it again. And when we do that, we are blowing up the dog's internal gut system, which is directly affecting their immunity. In the last 2 months, I've had more than one client call me their dog on death's door. The vet's like, there is nothing else we can do. Wounds won't heal. I'm like, well, if you want to try, this is what I'm going to suggest. And we get them the products that they need. And guess who's still with us? I haven't lost one yet. So natural antibiotics, consider them whenever you can. There are times that, of course, you need veterinary medication. Absolutely. But I remember that disclaimer. I can't treat, diagnose, or cure. But I have seen essential oils take out MRSA, take out staph infections when other antibiotics did not. So remember that phrase I said at the beginning, when you think you've tried everything, try one more. Essentials oils are that for me. Okay. Any other questions about any of this? Okay, vaccines. Do you actually need them? Go ahead.
Do you have a list of essential oils that you use, or is that something?
Yeah, I do. You'll start to see quite a lot on my website, my group. We send out like an oil of the week or an oil of the day all the time, and what it does. And so you can start to learn more about that. And when you get into my community forum, you'll see even more.
Thank you.
So do you need vaccines? My friend Paula, who is a naturally rearing breeder of boxers, says no. And there's actually a book, and I've just ordered it. It's an old book. And I don't remember the name of it right now, but she promoted it because she actually reached out to the author, and they said, well, I think I have a case or two somewhere. And they sent them to her. But she, does so much preparation with the female and the male before the breeding ever occurs to ensure their health. And then she uses no-sodes with the puppies. If that's not your path, then follow the Jean Dodds schedule of vaccination. And it's on my website also. You just type in vaccines and you'll see a whole bunch of stuff come up. But she has a schedule of vaccines that she recommends and when. After every vaccine, you should at minimum use your milk thistle. After every vaccine, you should use a homeopathic remedy called Thuya. You've probably started hearing and seeing this in some of the groups you may participate in. And then when we do the rabies vaccine, because it's the law for most people, and especially for those of you in these show dogs and sports and things of that nature, they're probably requiring you to have certain vaccines when you participate. When you administer those, when you administer the rabies, you're going to do the milk thistle, the Thuya, and one called Lyssin, Lyssin. In my essential oil world, I use oil called Ledum, Ledum. And we follow that protocol following the vaccines. I even have a pre-vaccine protocol for my kibble feeders. Because remember, we think and we know that that immune system is just not quite as strong as a fresh fed dog. So if I know a rabies vaccine is coming up on a kibble fed dog, I want them to, at least for a couple of weeks, do some pre-work. Add toppers to the food, add a whole food vitamin mineral supplement, maybe do a raw diet for a period of time. Whatever those things are, including maybe a boost of vitamin C and some of those antioxidants we talked about, so that the body goes in better prepared to receive whatever vaccine it's about to take on, and then we detox after. It is advised to never give multiple vaccines at the same time. Okay. So that means no
Oh, I know.
parvo distemper at the same time you
George
give.
Dolores is always thinking of vaccine.
I hear, hold on, I hear somebody. I need to, can, I don't know how to find him again. I'll come back. Can you please mute? Because I don't know how to find you right now.
I don't see why they need that every year.
Okay, hold on. I gotta find this
You
person.
think after 2 or 3 years, they have enough immunity built up?
Hey, Darlene, I think it's you.
Who? And I'll mute. you.
Darlene, can you mute? I think that's Tim talking. Okay, there you go. Thank you.
Yep, there we go. Okay. So no 2 vaccines given at the same time. No vaccines to be given under stress. That's a big one, but we do it, right? And no vaccine to happen at the same time as like a surgical procedure. So this is a problem in a lot of rescue groups. They just get the whammy of stuff, and those dogs are in trouble. I have seen many vaccine injuries. Vaccines can lead to autoimmune disorders. They can lead to seizures. They can lead to death, behavioral problems, all sorts of things. So it is not too late to do some detox work, even if it's been, years of receiving vaccines and things of that nature. But we certainly want to try and do it real time. Okay, so let me back up. My brain sometimes gets ahead of myself. So I also do a seasonal parasite control. So we talked about that with the modified heartworm schedule, right? Milbemycin, that's how you say it, milbemycin. So the protocol that I follow is an essential oil protocol. And I do it for myself quarterly. I do it for the dogs every 6 months. And part of that is because they're not eating sushi like I am, but they do eat raw meat. But we know that their guts, the acidity of their guts are intended to deal with that. So unless you have a known issue with your dog, semi-annually is enough. If you do see parasites in your pet, then there are a lot of natural options like pumpkin seeds. So every fall, we start telling everybody, don't throw out your pumpkin seeds when you carve the pumpkin, save them, throw them in the freezer and pull them out when you need to do some parasite detox. Shredded coconut, shredded carrots, those can help expel parasites from the body. There are essential oils that do it. There's lots of ways to do it naturally and never have to use those pharmaceutical products. Okay. I feel like I'm missing something on the vaccine. Maybe it'll come up in the question section. So seniors, we've talked a little bit about that in some of the other areas. One of the things we have not talked about is the cognitive decline that they can have. That is, I use a product from Myco Dogs called Vitality. It's a mushroom tincture, and that gets added to the senior protocol. The lion's mane mushroom, lion's mane, is a mushroom that really is targeted at brain health. So it's one to make sure to go in if you're starting to see signs of cognitive decline, or you just know your dog is in those senior years. At almost 20 years old, my dog has been on this for quite a while. So for our seniors, our priorities are really their diet, their joint health, their brain function, their immune system, and then keeping them mobile with chiropractic, massage, stretching, walking, swimming, anything that can help their mobility stay intact. Anxiety, very common issue. Ashwagandha is something that you've probably heard about recently. There's been a recent study that was released about how effective this is for dogs with anxiety. CBD, so the company CBD Dog Health has a product called CBD Calm, CALM, and it has in it lavender essential oil is in that as an adaptogen to help dogs calm themselves. If you have a dog that is anxious with like fireworks or car rides, Herb Smith makes a great product called July 3rd. I use essential oils for car rides, CBD for car rides if we need that. Remember I said the PMF mats are also good for anxiety. And any dog or anybody, including you, needs digestive enzymes in their diet if they are suffering from anxiety. Other things that we want to do is make sure that we're detoxifying the body regularly, that we reduce that chemical load. So those are those flea and tick products, vaccines, and so on. And then any cleaning products, laundry soaps, all of that contributes to issues that may be present in the state of mind. If you have a dog that has like performance anxiety, then there are some things that you can do situationally. There's an essential oil blend called Valor from Young Living that I love, that is all about sort of confidence and feeling good about yourself and ready to go. And so I have seen that used countless times in competitions or new environments and that kind of thing. So there's an oil for everything.
Do you spray that on them or how do you put it on?
I would put it in a drop or two in the palm of my hand, sort of rub my hands together, and then just pet the dog. You can put it on their ears, the paw pads, under the belly, right down their spine, for example. It's going to penetrate into the body. So the fur starts to act as a wick and pull those oils down into the system and hit that nervous system and let it do its magic. So remember, and I'll show you again before we hang up. There's a section on my website that is an intro to essential oils, and it talks about topical application, when to use a aromatic like a diffuser, and then times in which we might apply them even internally. Okay. So dental, my go-tos are raw meaty bones. And there is an article on my website that outlines this and shows you how to maybe teach a dog to gnaw on a bone versus try to eat the whole thing in one shot. There's a product that I really like called Dental Pro Thyroid that Brady Connor from Dogs First has created. He actually has a money back guarantee on this product. If you don't like it, if it didn't work, he will give you money back. The prothyroid portion means this is a seaweed product, but it's not enough of the iodine issue to throw off the thyroid. And I know that's a potential common issue in your breed as well, that thyroid health is a little bit of a concern. There's another product called Teef, T-E-E-F, Teef. And it is something that you put into their food. Into their water bowl. Doesn't really have a taste, but it helps deter that way. I've seen a homeopathic remedy called Liba 3. I tried that. It didn't work for me. It didn't work for my dogs. But these others have. So you have to experiment sometimes. Fresh foods are going to be your best option. There's a myth that floats around out there that says kibble is helpful to clean your dog's teeth. That is absolutely false. It's just not true. So look at fresh foods and raw meaty bones ideally as your first option. And then if you need supplementation, then you have these two to choose from. You can also make your own toothpaste. I use baking soda, essential oil like peppermint or spearmint, and a little bit of coconut oil, and just scrub around in there. That's also very effective. You can even take a probiotic powder and add a little coconut oil to it and make a paste that way. The probiotic is all about bacteria, right? So it's going to take off the bad bacteria and leave good bacteria in the mouth. That's a positive thing to try as well. Skin health. This was a word I had not heard until I started looking up your dogs. And it's an autoimmune disorder. Have any of you experienced this? Dermatomyositis? I can't even say it. Dermatomyositis.
Dermatomytosis.
How many? Say that again.
It's dermatomytosis.
Dermatomytosis. Okay. Easy
Yeah.
for you to say. No, I know. Have you experienced it?
Yes, it runs in our breed.
Like common? Like any of
We
you
now
have
have
it?
we now have a genetic test, but I think it was
Oh.
probably more common greater than 5 years ago. But now we've been able to have at least a genetic test to breed around it.
That's awesome. Good. Okay. Good to know. So anyway, short answer, low inflammatory diets, fresh foods, your best option. Increase those omega-3s unless we're in that von Willebrand category. Get rid of all those toxins from every category of life that you can, and use products like the 4-legger shampoo instead of the other brands. And then I use essential oils a boatload for skin conditions. So that's a consideration to use there as well. Green tea misting spray, chamomile tea misting spray. We use those a lot for allergies and skin conditions of any kind. And there are recipes for those on my website. Okay, moving right along. How are we doing on time, Lori?
Yeah, we're at the 90-minute mark now. Almost 24. So
We're,
doing
I
okay.
think we're just about to the Q&A. So if you have dogs with seizures, remember they can very well be caused by a chemical burden. And I have heard many people say to me, I have used flea and tick meds or this shampoo or this product for years and never had a problem. Or we've always vaccinated and never had a problem until they do. And then once you do, it is hard to go back from, and some dogs never do. So low tox lifestyle is your best. It's my understanding your breed has above average risk for seizure issues. So all the more reason to try and focus on this. When we do run into those categories, my first goal is to do some detox work. I'm all about liver detox. It's a big deal. But we then start adding in things like MCT oil, which is a derivative of coconut oil. It pulls out the multi-chain triglycerides and is simply that in a bottle versus the rest of what an omega-3 may have. CBD, very important to include. PMF mats help. And then again, that low tox lifestyle is super important. Tie that back to vaccines, the schedule, the separating them, the do I need them at all? I'm going to go back to vaccines for a minute. Unless your dog is outside in the wildlife, you probably do not need the leptospirosis. Once your dog has been vaccinated for parvo distemper, the chances of them needing another vaccine in their lifetime is very, very low. So titer where you can. Understand that a product like leptospirosis is not something that most dogs are even exposed to. And if you take that vaccine, it doesn't work for a whole year anyway. So there's going to be a period of time your dog's still not covered, nor does it cover all strains. The same is true for Bordetella. It's like the common cold for us. It does not vaccinate against receiving the multiple strains of cough that might be out there. What it does is covers the insurance liability issue that groomers, daycares, facilities, competitions, veterinarians, that they have for having a dog boarded in their facility. But your dog still could come home with kennel cough. And if they do, there are natural ways to treat that. Okay. This gallbladder mucosally, common in your breed, I'm told. Lower fat diets does not mean no fat. Our dogs need fat in their bodies to process all the things that cellular health needs. We cannot be no fat. It's really important to have some in there. So we got to figure out what lower looks like for your particular dog in a fresh food diet. But the liver and the gallbladder are paired together in traditional Chinese medicine. So we want to support that liver and also the kidneys. So milk thistle supports the liver, dandelion supports the liver, dandelion also supports the kidneys. So why are we supporting those? Because we're talking about gallbladder, because they need each other. They need each other to help do the work and take the burden off so that the gallbladder is not having to work quite as hard. Okay. And then I think this is the last one. We do seasonal protocols. We do them all. I just did lymphatic drainage and massage in my group. We'll do parasites this month. We'll do a liver cleanse. Probably if the first dose for most people of flea and tick and of heartworm is in May, then we want to do a liver cleanse headed into that. So April is probably when we will do that. Kidneys are predominant according to that circadian clock in the Chinese medicine calendar. They are priority in the summer. So we do a kidney cleanse in the summer. And then we do heavy metals and glyphosate and other things throughout the year. And I do those, I usually try to give two options. One is my essential oil path. And then the other is for those people who are not quite sure they're ready to be oily and give them some options, whether it's beam minerals, which is very detoxifying type product, or some level of supplements to put in the diet at that time. The liver cleanse diet is actually a custom diet. It's basically fish for a few days, for 21 days, and some supplements that really step into detoxification for the liver. So milk thistle is one of them, but we add in things like SAM-E or glutathione, or we really up the intensity on our work to do detoxification. And that's it. So it is Q&A time.
I was curious about the milk thistle. Is it a supplement? I don't know much about it. I mean, is it a pill?
It is best used in a tincture. And if you give me just, there's somebody coming in. As we look at this on the screen in a second, I will show you more about it, but it is a tincture. They do come in capsules, but honestly, I find with dogs, it's easier to just pop that tincture in their mouth and move on, or to add it to their food. The more capsule powder type things you add to the food, the more muddy it is, the more sandy it may feel. And they're like, I ain't eating that, and we don't want to shove too many capsules down their throat because they hate that too. So tinctures tend to work better for our dogs. They are also sometimes, depending on the product, a little more bioavailable in tincture form.
So, I mean, how do you get that? How do you get the tincture?
So you guys, let me find you here. You are going to get, if you go to welloldcanine.com/Sheltie, this page is here for you, and there's a list of all the products. So you guys will all get, who have a registration email or you want to send me your email, I will give you access to Full Script, which is an online supplement dispensary, and everybody gets a 10% discount. If you are my client, you get 20%, but it's in there. It's also available on Amazon. It's available at any vitamin, mineral, health food store local to you. It is a very common herbal supplement. Okay. And then, so let me show you this is my community forum that I keep referencing. And if I come in here, and I'm going to give you guys 90-day access to it. If I come in here and look, there's a chart for dosing milk thistle. So you can see that it says typical maintenance is 2 to 5 milligrams per pound. If I have had an insult to the liver, i.e. heartworm prevention, then for a period of time, I'm going to do 10 milligrams per pound. Okay. And this is the brand that I use the most, Herb Farm. And this is the label from that brand. And it just comes in a little, like a little 2-ounce bottle with a little dropper thing in it. And you just dose according from there. So if you see this forum, there are a million, not quite. We cover first aid. We cover body, mind, spirit work. The guides and protocols are all going to be in here. Herbs, essential oils, first aid, the endocrine system. So all the systems of the body are represented here, and what we may do to support that system proactively and or reactively if there's something happening health-wise. Okay. And I've got to add that, what was it, how you pronounce that skin issue you guys have? I have to add that to the list. And then you've heard me talk about Chinese medicine a couple of times and the foods we feed. So if you have an allergy dog, we didn't really cover allergies tonight, but if you have an allergy dog, one of the first things to go are hot inflammatory proteins, chicken, venison, salmon. They get cut straight away, and we move to cooler proteins like whitefish, turkey, pork, rabbit, duck. We move to those categories to try and bring down and cool down the inflammation that's happening in the body. Other questions?
Hi, this is Vicky. I was wondering what kind of meat bones do you use?
For the raw meaty bones for the teeth?
Yeah. Let it
More often than not, like for the little dogs, I'll use a chicken wing. I'll break that little wing flapper thing, and one day they get the drumhead, and the next day they get the flapper. A little spare rib, a little pork rib. Femur bones are going to be really hard. We try not to use those too much, but some people give them. Some people stuff stuff down in there. When you look at my website and type in raw meaty bone, you will see a list of suggestions. So get familiar with the search bar. So remember I said you could make your own dental spray and dental toothpaste. This is it. And then raw meaty bones. And it just really talks about, because it's such a natural thing for dogs to gnaw on something, right? So very helpful to their state of mind. And then this talks a little bit about choosing the bones that you want.
You aren't afraid to use raw pork?
I am not. I use it all the time.
All right. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Other questions? So somebody was asking about the dental thing and we were going to look something up. What was that? TD something, TDC? Did we lose her?
Yeah, I don't think she's on the call any longer.
Oh, no. Okay. All right. What other questions do you guys have?
I know what it is. It's TDC 1.
TDC, the number one?
Yes. Because I've been using it as well in recent times.
One, TDC, canine periodontal. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yes.
I personally know nothing about it. Are there ingredients here? So you guys know how, maybe you don't, and we'll talk about it, how to determine, like, if you are feeding a product or a vitamin and mineral supplement, whether it has synthetics in it or not. Here we go. Yep. So see, when they say proprietary, we have no clue what's in there. So I don't have the least notion about what that is. So if it's working for you, I would say fine, but I cannot tell you with any certainty, and we may have to email the company, but when they make something proprietary, and you'll see that a lot on products, it just means they don't want to disclose what's in it. I don't want to give away the recipe. So I was mentioning synthetics. So if you want to learn to read a label for the dog food, like for a kibble product, there is somewhere in here. I'll find it in a second. There's a list in there of everything that's in the food and how to read that label. Well, I'll find it in a second. But if you want to identify synthetics, you basically have to look and see that they're adding words like this, like thiamine, vitamin B1, riboflavin, B2. If you start seeing a list of these words and numbers, those have been added as a synthetic supplement to the recipe. If they list fruits and vegetables and meats and all the other things, they are getting their vitamins and minerals from whole food sources. When you see it itemized like this, it is synthetic options in the food. Now, sometimes that's okay, right? We can't budget doesn't allow everybody to use whole food sources all the time. But again, certainly if you have a cancer dog or a seizure dog or an autoimmune dog, then you want to stay away from synthetics in any form as much as possible. I'm going to find the read the label. Hold on. Oh, dog food ingredient. There we go. So if you are feeding kibble of any kind, compare your ingredients to this list. There is something now known as ingredient splitting that is a little misleading. So the marketers got real smart about putting meat first. We're all now programmed to look, is meat first on the list, right? But remember, we talked about in the DCM discussion the fact that they started adding in legumes, peas, more often than not. You will start to see pea protein, pea starch, pea flour, pea gluten, all sorts of things. That is ingredient splitting. And what you may wind up with when you start seeing that is that percentage of protein now actually is more than the meat. They don't spell it out, but you have to look and see what's all listed all the way down that list and go, that's a whole lot of peas, right? And is this really now more plant matter than it is meat matter? So that's super important. Canned food, canned dog food is really nothing more quality. There's no more quality than dry, other than it contains moisture. And moisture is super important for everything, for all the cells of the body. So if you have a kidney dog, then dry food is not the right answer by any stretch of the imagination. And so if you continue down here, you start looking for like meal byproducts. These are not real meat. They're what was left of the carcass that got baked off and powderized and left. It's just gross. It's not the real muscle meat that carries all the vital nutrients. Does it meet the protein goal? Yep, because they put enough of it in there, but it is not the quality that I think most people are looking for. There's a lot of carbohydrates in dry food. Remember, I said it's usually about 50 to 70%. I've seen it as high as 80%, which is like, that's ridiculous. But do you know how to calculate how much carb is in a bag of food? You take the protein, the moisture, the fat, and I'm missing something. The protein. Oh, here we go. This one. Crude protein, crude fat, crude fiber, and moisture. If they include ash, you can add that too. Add those 4 numbers together and subtract from 100. The number that's left is how much carbohydrate is in the bag. If you are trying to calculate that on moist food, so sometimes you'll see like a bag of food says it's 32% kibble, and then you'll get a fresh food and it says 17%. You're like, oh my God, I thought this was better. You have to convert it back to dry matter basis to get the right number. So it's a little tricky sometimes, but this walks you through doing that. And so if you notice here, what does crude mean? It means not yet processed. So that's technically where it started. That's how much was in there before the processing began. And then when you see salt on the bag, salt can never be, according to AFCO, more than 1% of the recipe. So if the ingredients are listed in order, everything that comes after salt is less than 1% of the recipe. So if that's where you find your blueberries and your carrots and your whatevers, know that they waved the bag, they waved the little berry at it and called it a day. Right? There's not much in there. So when you see the bag of Beneful and it's got the pretty little pumpkin and blueberries and whatnot and spinach on it, go read the label. There is not enough in there to make a difference.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
You mentioned that MCT oil is good.
Uh-huh.
I actually take that powder. How much would you recommend for a Sheltie?
Well, it depends on what we're using it for, right? Are we trying to round out the fats in our recipe? Are we trying to address cancer? Are we trying to get to a keto diet? It depends.
I've got 2 Shelties. They're really healthy. One of them will turn 7 in July, which is shocking to me. I can't believe how fast it's gone.
I know, right?
But since he's actually a senior now, would you just recommend me use that, just add that into his diet? I actually do kibble and throw lots. I mean, they love steamed vegetables and stuff, so they get a bunch of stuff, but they actually have a pretty decent, it's at Stella and Chewy's. It's
Okay.
considered pretty good for kibble.
Right. So I would, if your Sheltie weighs what, 25 pounds ish?
They're actually a little bit larger in the size range, and they're probably about 30.
Okay, not a big deal. So it's going to be like a teaspoon, maybe two,
Okay, thank you.
not a lot.
And would you say that's once a day or a few times a week, or how often?
So I tend to rotate unless I have a seizure or cancer dog, unless I'm trying to get a keto diet out of this. I tend to rotate my oil options. So I might use olive oil this month. And then when that bottle's empty, I might use MCT. And then when that's empty, I might use avocado oil, right? So I am a firm believer in rotating the things we use to give our dogs many options. If you have both in the pantry, then rotate weekly. It doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong.
Well, and I do, and you were mentioning with the omegas and stuff like that, not to maybe do it every day. So I actually add ultra oil. Are you familiar with that?
No.
Oh.
Ultra oil?
I think it's ultra or ultra oil. It was recommended by, like, Ava Frick. Yes, yep, that's it.
Okay.
And I give them that once. It's just one little squirt for their size. Yep, that's it on the left.
So here's what I want you to know. And I'm not telling you, this is not a bad product. That's not what I'm saying. We do not need to supplement omega-3, 6, 9. We need to supplement omega-3. We get the dog and the human, if we're feeding a fresh diet or a kibble diet or whatever, we get enough 6 and 9 anyway. And if you're feeding chicken, you're getting way more 6 omegas, right?
Beef and like ducks and stuff.
Right.
But how often would I give any kind of, even?
I give omega every day once I start it. If I've got a dog with an inflammatory condition, they get it every day.
Yeah, I don't think these two do. But
Yeah.
just to be kind of on the healthy side, would you just recommend like once a day for a healthy dog?
For a healthy dog in a proactive
Yes.
format,
Yeah.
then it's a couple times a week.
Okay.
Every day if you wanted to. It's not going to be a problem unless you're doing far too. And remember, I said, if we've got an inflammatory issue, I sometimes get as much as 5 or 6 times the maintenance amount, right? So you
Sure.
really can't overdose it. If you are getting too much for them, you would just pretty much see some loose stools and then you back away from that.
That's pretty good.
But we don't need a 6, 9. You need a 3. The more chicken you feed, the more inflammatory foods you feed, the more 3 you need. And there's a ratio of 3, 6, and 9. There's a ratio that's supposed to be met. And we often get way out of whack with the 6 and don't get way enough 3 to overcome that.
Okay. Is there any brands such as this that you would recommend just for the omega-3s?
Yeah, so I use Nordic Natural. There's nothing wrong with this if they have a 3 only.
Yeah, I don't know if they do or not.
Yeah, so let me show you guys this too. I remember I said I'm going to give you access to the full script. Thought I had all of this open and then I got chatty Cathy and messed up myself. Oh, I don't want to code. Gosh, I do not want to code. Hold on one second. Everything's supposed to be simple, and now you got to have a phone and a computer to do anything. So you all will be invited to this, and if you come in here, there's 20,000 plus products in here. You can order for yourself, your dog, your husband, wife, I don't care, whatever. And I don't look, I have no way of knowing what you ordered. Doesn't matter to me. But I use Nordic Naturals for the dogs. They have Nordic Naturals for humans as well. I get this omega-3. And if you have more than one dog, I would say buy the large dog anyway, and then calculate the number of milligrams in a teaspoon and adjust from there. You'll save money on the bigger bottle with the more milligrams in it. And the same is true for CBD when you start looking at CBD. The little bottles aren't always the most economical. And if you look at CBD Dog Health, for example, they have a horse product. It's just a 4-ounce bottle. It is absolutely not different than the dog product. It's just a bigger bottle. Okay. And so, and I also love this microbiome. I love this brand of products for women's health, men's health, but I can give the dog this Megaspore. They also have one called Phytospore, which has some liver in it. So the dogs like the taste of that. So if you're looking for a really good probiotic, this brand is a good one to choose. If we're trying to recover, remember I talked about those really bad antibiotics and how they can jack up the gut health. I often go to this Restoraflora for a couple of months and then down to the Megaspore or the Phytospore. So that all that becomes very individualized depending on what we're trying to deal with. But if you need just a good maintenance probiotic for you, Megaspore is fantastic. Your dog can take it, or your dog can take Phytospore. It's the same product. The Phytospore just has liver in it. So there are a lot of things. This I literally just sent to all of the people that are in the Full Script dispensary under my name, a heart health. It's February, it's Heart Health Month. So they got a document that is also on my website that says, here's some things to think about. And taurine's one of the things we talked about, or hawthornberry. So if you've got a dog with some heart health issues, high blood pressure, there are protocols and products that we can pull in to add to their supplementation requirements. Back on my website, there's a guides and protocols section, and more stuff is, listen, I've got a desk full and a book full and I got notebooks online and I keep trying to move it out. But if you're trying to look at something specific, these are the things that if we were talking on the phone, this is exactly what I would tell you to get started. Now we might have to get a little more prescriptive for the individual, but these are the basics. And so heart health is right here. And these are just downloads that you can go get. Other questions? Was this helpful? Are you learning anything? You feel good about what you've heard?
It's great. Thank you.
You're welcome. And so remember, go here, willoldcanine.com/Sheltie. And this will show you. So let me just pull this up. What just happened? Maybe I need to fix that link. That's why we test. These are the products that I recommend the most. So you can see we have Adored Beast, we have Animal Biome. They have great testing products if your dog's biome seems out of whack. They have a fecal matter transplant supplement that's wonderful for dogs that need it. Not every dog does. Beam Minerals. I am a huge, whoops, where'd that go? I'm a huge fan of this product. I started learning about it for the dogs and like I take it now. But it's a good mineral electrolyte supplement. So if you've got an athlete and you're trying to replenish electrolytes, they have a great product for dogs. Standard Process is one of my favorite supplement lines. I know we didn't talk about it a lot tonight, because it's very individualized which one we choose. Joe, that's the hip supplement that I was telling you about. Gussie's Gut, wonderful fermented greens. We didn't talk a lot about fermented vegetables or fermented foods tonight, but all dogs need them. They are a great source of probiotic naturally. Goat's milk, kefir, sauerkraut are my go-tos. People will say, well, what about yogurt? If you want a smidgen of probiotic, fine. If you want some big guns, you got to go up a notch into some of these other foods and supplements. Cellcore, when I'm doing detox work, you'll hear me talk about Cellcore because I like the binders that are in there. So when we start shaking up glyphosate in the body and we are all exposed to it, we don't want it just to circle around and land somewhere new, right? We want it to expel from the body. And so to do that, we need a binder. So we put in the detox, whether it's essential oils or supplementation, we put that in, and then we hit it with the binder so that the binder gets it out of the body. Antioxidants, I love Ninja Red from Young Living. I take it every day. C60 is the product that I mentioned earlier. It is also available on Amazon. I do have an Amazon store. Let me pull that up for you. And if you can't find what you're looking for, ask me. But this is Amazon store. So all these mushrooms, these real mushrooms, they're now in full script, which I really, really like. Books that I suggest for reading. I'm not the biggest fan of Honest Kitchen, but it's okay. It's not terrible. It does have synthetic vitamins and minerals in it. So for a healthy dog, it's okay, but not for my cancer, not for my seizure, not for my autoimmune kind of dogs. If you wanted to feed a dehydrated base mix to which you add a protein of choice raw, then I would look at Dr. Harvey's. Okay, it's in here too somewhere. There's the C60 I was telling you about. And there's the milk thistle for the one that was asking that too. So you got a few options as to where to get some of these things. But Dr. Harvey's is the dehydrated base mix that I would choose. And then you add a fresh protein of choice to it at each feeding and some water to hydrate the mix. And you're off and running from there. You're off and running from there. There's the joke. I do have on that original link, a link directly to their website. I prefer, sorry, Alexa's talking to me. I prefer to buy directly from the vendor when I can. Sometimes on these Amazon stores and Amazon products, they are from vendors other than the manufacturer. If it's from the manufacturer, great. If it's from some other vendor, not so great, because they may be older products. I have even seen Young Living bottles out there that are not from Young Living. They've taken an old bottle, created a new label, put some sort of crap in it, and there's nothing healthy about it. That reminds me, you cannot buy your essential oils from Bed Bath & Beyond, Walmart, Body Works, none of those kind of places. They're synthetic. And you will even see, like if you went to Walmart and you picked up a bottle of lavender, first of all, it's going to tell you it is a skin irritant or for aromatic use only, which makes 0 sense because lavender is one of the best skin soothing products out there. So then you have to say, what did they put in the bottle? Or how did they extract it? Or what did they, what was the distillation process? And until you can answer those things, those products are not safe. Okay. What else is on your mind? I'll stay as long as you need me.
If there aren't any more questions, so Dana, just to kind of clear up for everyone, you're gonna go ahead and send out the additional information and the link to the site and the 90-day subscription access to everyone who is registered. Or are you gonna
Yeah.
go ahead and send that to me and then I'll send it out to everyone, or just you can send that out?
I can, for anybody that registered, I can send an email out tomorrow. It's not gonna happen tonight. I love you, but it's not gonna happen tonight. But yeah, I'll send a link to that, and then I will send
Okay.
you, because the webinar will have to process so that you can download the recording.
Okay.
And so once all that's done, I'll send that to you as well.
Fabulous. Okay, great. I think it's wonderful. I know it went by so fast. I learned a lot, but it was very engaging for me. And I can't believe all the different things, you hear, and, some of the different stuff that I think I want to, try with you. And I know you offer a consultation. Will you talk just a little bit about that?
Yeah, so if you go back to that little Shelty link, I don't know where it is right now on my screen, you will all have an option to get a 20% discount off of a single consult. So I offer what I call a pay as you go, which is, some people just need a single consult. They just want their questions answered. And then I have a package of services. Like if you want to learn to make homemade food and figure out the supplements and have somebody hold your hand through the process, and follow up on that as your dog starts to transition to that food, then there's a package that does that. Or if you've got one of these cancer dogs or autoimmune dogs, and you're like, I want access to you for the next year, I've got a package that does that too. For those that just sort of want to learn on their own time, but have the ability to ask a few questions, join the forum. You'll see a discount code that comes in there that makes that forum for a year. You'll get 90 days for free, but I'm going to send a coupon code that allows you to have full access for a year for $50. And there's all that stuff I just showed you, plus the ability to say, hey, I don't understand. Can you clarify? I'm looking for blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, I got that in the notes. Let me just get it moved out there. Because again, there's more in my brain and in my notebooks than I can possibly do at any given time. So I just keep feeding it in there as people are asking questions, or as that topic is relevant to the protocol we're working on. Does that help? I'm going to assume it helps.
Yeah, I think that helps. Thank you very much for
Yeah.
explaining that. And I think we could probably go ahead and wrap up the call for this evening. I really appreciate you working with us, working with our club, and offering all these details. I think it was very valuable. I think our members would find it. You touched on a lot of good points that we deal with our dogs. So I think everyone probably found something in there that was very useful for them.
Well, and I know it's a lot. It's a lot.
It is a lot.
Which is why the forum started to exist. So that
Okay.
people could go, I know she said, but they don't remember the dosing amount, or, what was the product she was talking about for the joint supplement, right? So you can start to find those things and ask questions and talk to each other and dig a little deeper into all of that. There's a whole section on cancer. There's a whole section on the endocrine system. And so you can go in there and read instead of flipping through Facebook or TikTok, which I do too sometimes, but flip through there and kind of pick up on some of the things you're interested in learning. And then if that means you need a little more one-on-one consultation time, then we can certainly schedule that. And if you're a member of that forum because you've paid to be in there, then you will see discount codes. So they're not listed on the public site, but many of these products I have a discount code for, at least on your first purchase.
Okay.
And
Great.
so that's in the forum. And, I appreciate anybody that can use my affiliate links anytime. but more importantly, I want you to have answers. And so that's why that forum started to exist, because there's more than I could ever share in any workshop. Even if we did a 3-day workshop, we're not going to hit it all, you know? So don't be overwhelmed. Just ask your questions. Learn a piece of it at a time.
That's great advice. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I think we could probably close this call. Dana, you've been a wealth of information, and I appreciate that on behalf of the Greater St. Louis Shetland Sheepdog Club. Thank you. Thank you for doing that for us.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. Thanks. Take care.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
night.
you. Bye.
Thank you.